Hey everybody, it's Eric Meyer. I'm here to review some data. This particular video is we're going to take some beginner concepts, which really means, hey, I know beginner, I know GPS speed, I know GPS lat, know GPS long. Means you know those things, and we're going to take this farther. We're going to take this to the next level. We're going to analyze some data provided by Instructor Nick from Mid-Ohio. Nick is a NASA Great Lakes instructor. So here we go. The data provided was Nick collected it from Apex Pro. He swiped left. He shared the data via email. It was in the format of the Apex Pro export. I opened it up on my phone. I took a look-see, and I also swiped left and emailed it in a CSV to myself. I opened it up in Track Attack software, right? The old Track Attack right here, which is free. I highly recommend. Get the $99 version if you want to get good at data analysis and you want to go faster. And then we're opening it up and we're taking a look at it. So let's get started here. What I've done here is filtered this by Nick's laps, which is what you have here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick the fastest lap of these, and we're going to do a beginner look at one lap, just like we teach in beginners. Andrew Rains and I support each other. This is the same thing we're going to do, and we're going to quickly look at this to get everybody up to speed. So I'm going to turn the track map onto that and fit it in there real nice. This is Mid-Ohio. Track direction goes this way. Very high speed turn one corner. This is the famous keyhole. This is the end of the back straight downhill brake zone. It's a lot of interesting stuff right here. This is high speed corner right here, and this is the carousel with the start and finish being right here. Okay, so we're doing some normal stuff here. I'm going to take the flashlight here and just remind everybody what's going on. I see a nice confident application of the brakes. I see some noise right here. These little squiggly guys, it's usually related to the GPS signal and the bridge. You go into the bridge at turn one, which is right here. See confident application of the brakes. I see this hockey stick or trail braking coming out of here. I see a V shape right here. I see a shift. See what looks like a confident application of the brakes. I see a V right here, which is not super desirable. We'd like to see a U shape right here, a little more U shape. Same way with this one, higher the speed, more the U. I see, that's interesting. See some noisy stuff in here, and then we're on to the front straight. So there's a quick pass, just with GPS speed, right? Okay, going to add a second and a third lap, and we're going to see what's going on. Are we doing the same thing, or was that a fluke lap? Was our flyer, our 150, a fluke lap? See some big variation in the brake zone. See the same braking point. See a shift right here. See the same hockey stick. I see a lot of variation in the mid corner for our 3 laps that are within 1 second of each other. Exactly 1 second. 1 second, 1.3 variation. See our shift. See some spread right here. See about the same brake zones. I want to look into this brake application right there because I see this shape right here, which looks like this. I'm seeing this. I want you to see this. I'm seeing this, this, and this, which is right there. I see some big time variation right here in all of those brake zones. That generally tells me opportunity. And so we're going to go there. I have enough information to say, go to the brake zone. Go take a look in the brake zones. By the way, this is where people normally have the most initial first opportunity when they're looking at their data for first time, or they have somebody look at their data. It's really hard to look at your own data. Send me yours if you like. I'll do some depending on what it looks like. I do this for a very small fee, or often like for Nick, who's one of my instructors. I'm happy to show him what it looks like, and then help him in the future if he'd like some help. But based on what I'm seeing right here, it smells like opportunity. Nick, you got some great things in front of you, my man, because this is normally the barometer for good things to come. Okay, so we already know about this in the speed trace. This is beginner concepts. If you pass the beginner data acquisition exam, you know this. And you should know this as well. We're going to add the next channel, long G, right? And I'm going to tell you that between these two, I like to say this is 80% of data acquisition, because the time is usually in your feet. And in this case, my hunch says the time's in your feet. So we're going to also do one of the beginner concepts. The first thing we're going to do is going to go here. Remember, all cars should be able to brake at about 1G plus, especially for an instructor. So this is a red flag for me that says, yellow flag for me, not red. Actually, this is a red flag for me, because this is only seeing about 0.8. Let's make sure this isn't a one lap related issue. Oh, here's a little bit more, but we don't get to 9. This is supporting me right now in, hey, my initial gut was brakes. This is another additional supporting piece of evidence that says, yep, brakes. This too. See this variation in those G's right there? That is another one. May have been traffic, maybe not, but we've got 4 laps here that show variation. Guys, really good laps, and there's not this much variation. So this is good. This is normal. We got variation in the brake zone. You know what that tells me? Nick, you're in for a great 2020. In your first event at Mid-Ohio, you're going to easily knock a second off your lap time, just because you exposed yourself to the data, and just because you said, Eric, we take a look at my data. I'm new to this. I got an Apex Pro. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, and I need some help. That's what I'm here for. Okay, so we got a couple things, right? We said we just saw this, right? We saw this. We saw a bunch of variations in these, and we're going to keep looking. So the next thing I'm looking at is how much throttle we can go to. This is a little bit, this is definitely intermediate. How much throttle we can go to off brakes. And there's a fair amount. In other words, it doesn't trickle up like this really slowly. It jumps. And that's generally the indicator that the driver, for whatever reason, is overslowed. And it might be brakes, it might be car handling, it might be tires, it might be, hey, this was a wet session. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's a wet session based on the shapes of these curves, but I'm guessing it's just driver tendency, and Nick has just never looked at his data before, right? If he did, he wouldn't be sharing his data and saying, hey, Eric, you would look at it. He would say, I know what's going on. So Nick's following the first step that a lot of people do, which is having somebody look at his data. So I got issue evidence number 3. There's a lot of throttle coming out of here. This is a high-speed U-shaped corner. This is a high-speed U-shaped corner, which should look like this. Why do I know that? Because I've been doing this for a while. And there's going to be something here, I can tell. And there's going to be something here. So because I've done Mid-Ohio so many times and driven it, and I kind of know with respect to brakes where to look. It's going to be here. 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 This one's usually a little different, and I usually throw this away because it's got a unique nuance. If you push it there, you might have a bad day. I throw it away with not throw it away priority driving. I throw it away data analysis, because if you max it out, you could have a bad day, and there's no reason to tell people, hey, you need to go faster right here, and they have a bad day. That's one of the number one places where people have a bad day, especially in a big V8 rear-wheel drive car, which Nick doesn't have. He's got a 3 Series BMW. Okay, so we got variation here. We got shapes here. So there's two things. We got magnitude of this, and we got throttle. You following my logic so far? Let's keep going. We're going to add steering into this, the big three. And I'm just going to look for some stuff here. I'm going to look for, ooh, looky there, that's interesting. I'm going to look, I'm just kind of looking through here. I see this. Nick, where are you looking as you come down in here to the keyhole? I bet you $20 that you're spotting that apex curbing and you're driving right to it. And the reason I said that, if I'm wrong, let me know. Put some comments in below. Is there's wheel input right here. Let's zoom in on this. And everybody see this? We're just starting to go to braking, right? And we're turning the wheel. Do you see that? It's almost at the same. And, you know, maybe he's passing somebody. Maybe he's jumping on the inside. I really doubt it. This was his fast lap. So let's overlay a couple laps. Do you see that? See the same tendency? That's typically where people's eyes are. And what I normally like to have them do is go here. I could be wrong, but I would ask him, hey, where are you looking? And chances are, I bet you he's looking right here at the front of this curb, a little bit into it because it's elevated high and you can see it. It stands out. If that's the case, you're right. Let me change the colors of this. I apologize, guys. Make it a better color. I'm going to zoom in on this too. And again, why are we looking at this? Because we got steering input right here, right? During the initial brake process. Where does that steering start? Well, people don't trail brake at the initial application of the brake zone. So what I'm going to guess here, and there's a fair amount of steering right here. See that right there? And see where he is? So chances are he's drifting. He's drifting into the corner based on his eyes being right about here. And what I like to tell people is look at the base of that pole right there. That's going to put your trajectory more like this than like this. Okay? It's going to help you with a later turn in as well. Okay? And I exaggerated that last little one, but that's definitely something there. So we got, again, we got a brake related issue with, at least for this, we got an eye drift that we're coming in. Here's where the min speed is right here. Right? And when I say min speed, this is interesting. I want to do this right here and relate it back to where this component is right here, where that apex is noted. He's going to a fair amount of throttle, and it looks like once he goes to throttle, he's committed to throttle. Right? And I say that because it doesn't go up and then come back down and go like this. It actually slowly builds, which makes me question a couple things that I'll talk about in a second. Right? Again, here we are. Here we are. There should be really high G's. We're seeing, well, look at that. Attaboy, Nikolai. Look at that. Everybody see that? That was a 1.2, so he's getting an honest 1 out of that. That would suggest that the tires can at least do that in this corner. But what did we say when, what did we see under braking here? Right? We didn't see that. So if we happen to go that to the friction circle, yeah, that's exactly what I thought I'd see. See that right there? Right? This should be going down something like this. Interesting. Interesting. So the actual shape of this, if he was using more brakes, would actually look something like this. With this being the opportunity. You can't see that now, you're not supposed to, but you will in a bit. And let's see some other laps on here that we see this. Yeah. So you got some more. Again, this raises the question: hey, how's your car feel? You got, is your ABS broken? That'd be one of the first things I would think. You got brake related issues? And if he said, dude, last time I was here, my ABS went out. I went off the track, and it was scary. I don't want to do that. And I would get it. I'd understand. Given that, there's still opportunity to be more aggressive in the brakes. And here's why. The maximum brake pressure, excuse me, the maximum decelerating G's. I want everybody to see this. See this right here where the G's are? Well, we're only going to look at half of this, right? So this area underneath here. And if we look to see where that's at, right? That's not down in here, and that's not up in here. This maximum area is related to right in here. So it's not the initial stab and it's not the trail off. It's in between. It's initial quick pressure, quick transition, and really get on that. So that slope should be more like this. Okay? Which allows the driver to go a little bit further. And there's the time right in here. Times every corner. Okay. Let's keep going. Everybody follow me so far? So we learned that there's a little eye drift. Let's recap. We saw a variation right here. We said, remember that? We saw the magnitude of this, right? We saw the magnitude of how much we can go to throttle off of coming out of corners, which is quite a bit. Just quite a bit right there. Which typically means, which can mean we have overslowed, right? We saw, and we just saw a drift in here. Sorry about this, I'm having cursor related issues. And we saw a drift related to right here with our eyes. Let's go down the back straight and take a look-see at what's going on right here. Okay. Do you remember the U versus the V concept in the beginners? Well, we have a V right here, and we should have a U right here. This is an excellent candidate to hoof down in there. It's cambered, it's fast, and it is not leading to a straight, which means you don't want to square it off. This is a U-shaped corner. U on the speed trace versus a V. A V is you park it and then you accelerate out, typically a slower corners. This is a high-speed corner. This is a 55 mile an hour corner. Because it's V-shaped right here, and because there's a big handful of throttle that went in, I already know he overslowed. What I do like right here, though, is right here. Let's put where he's driving the apex. So his line is very pretty. That sounded bad. In the middle of here and here, which is noted in right here. Now we want to look at what's happening on the line. Well, if this is where the apex is, look where he's going to throttle. And it's a bunch of throttle. That's typically an indication of overslowing. And there we are going back to here. Let's look at a couple other laps. Let's be fair to all parties involved here. They look pretty consistent, don't they? Let's get our reference lap in there. Yep. This is interesting. This is some second braking efforts, right? You see these in here. So we got a brake-related issue, brake-related opportunity. This is great. If you see this in your own data, hopefully you can follow along. This is, we start getting away from beginner and into intermediate, and often people will get a little bit lost unless they have a really good beginner foundation. The beginner foundation is critical in doing this. Even for mechanical engineers that know graphs, it's relating it back to driving, which is the challenge. A lot of people know graphs because they're in manufacturing, they're in quality, they're in some kind of science industry, engineering industry. They have math backgrounds, they're just generally good at this, or in finance. What they don't typically have is a way to relate it back to driving. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Hopefully I'm achieving that. See, we just got, look down in here for the variation. So all these are pretty much in braking, right? And why do I say that? Because most of the stuff that comes off the corners, like these are overlaid nicely. It's in when they're going into braking into here that's wonky, right? That's wonky, right? That's wonky, right? And this is guys, this is really normal. I'm giving you a brief oversight because I tend to get pretty long-winded. But and here's another thing too. See, this is a maximum G's that we're getting, which are again, every car should get at least one. Instructor should be getting, street car on summer performance tires, almost any car should be getting negative 1.1, and we're not getting that here. But again, maybe maybe had ABS failure. Maybe these brake pads are going away. Maybe, don't know. So Nick, I would ask you, what's happening here, my brother? What's going on? We're gonna add one more component to this, which is I'm gonna only touch on this a little bit. We're gonna add this G sum, or total acceleration, and I'm seeing exactly what I thought I would see, which is this right here. And I'm going to go advanced on you right now. This first half of the corner right here, gosh darn it, having software problems, guys, I apologize. This first half of the corner is where we're losing opportunity. Here's the center of the corner. Notice how the combined G, we're only using 0.8 of the tire and 0.1 of the tire. Now right here, later in the corner, where the braking process is done, we're getting 1.2 all day long. Do you see that? Go Nick. We're just not getting it in the braking portion, right? Just right here, getting 0.8, barely even 0.9. So I got braking opportunity. We got braking opportunity everywhere. Might have a little bit of eye drift, and that we want to keep the action items, I would say, not the action items, the coaching recommendations, I would say, are this. Nick, based on what I see here in the speeds, you got variation. And what I'd like you to try to do is roll in 2 more miles an hour by braking from, in this case, 91 miles an hour to at least 48. I would say 49. Can you do 50? And over here, going from 111 to, look at that. Your best lap, sir. Your 150. was your slowest min speed by 5 miles an hour. That's pretty big. So I would put these all together, and the way I would put them all together is to tell your internal coach 1 more mile an hour, 1 more mile an hour, 1 more mile an hour, 1 more mile an hour. And I would approach the braking zone, and once you go to brakes, push on it a little harder. So as soon as you have pressure on your right foot, assuming your right foot brake, push on it. Once your pedal is depressed about an inch, push on it harder, push on it more quickly, real quick, right? And then I would slowly bleed it off, thinking 1 more mile an hour, meaning instead of braking from 111 to 56, think 57, think 58, think 59. I see right here you're doing 60 already. I would say 61 or 62. Look at that. There's big variation. So I would do that, and I would roll into the corner faster, and I would note when you are going to throttle. If you're going to throttle well before apex, chances are you've overslowed. If you got a big old handful of throttle at apex, you probably overslowed. Ideally, what you want is to go to throttle to start slowly adding throttle from apex out. If you can go to throttle, a lot of throttle from apex out, that means you've overslowed. If you can go to some or a lot of throttle before the apex or well before the apex, you're overslowing for that corner. I happen to see this everywhere, which is great. Everywhere people doing it, number one, but everywhere in your provided laps on this particular day in this particular car. Again, like you said, maybe ABS, maybe brakes, maybe whatever it is. So you're having a bad day. Don't know. I'm just looking at the data. But this is pretty normal and typical of somebody's got some overbrake tendencies. The great thing about it is there's great gains to be had. This one symptom that you have, this braking too much and overslowing, is the one single symptom I see where people have the biggest gains. So your 150s right here you're braking 150, dude. You're braking 49. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if you're braking into the 48s. All things being equal. Seriously, it's a pretty big gain for all those reasons that I just mentioned. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go to this XY plot in the friction circle. Remember in the beginner, we looked at the outside, right? We looked at the outside, and I'm going to add even more laps on here because I want to know what your tendencies are. There's how you're driving, right there. What that means right here is when you come off the brakes for a right-hander, you're not using enough of the tire. So your opportunity, sir, let me change the color here. And this is, I'm going to go like sort of theoretical on everybody right here. What we want to see when we're done is more dots down in here. Okay? Because the thing should be able to do one, it's already doing 1, 2 over here, right? We already said that. Has a capability, especially in 2 brake zones, right? Especially in 2 brake zones, right? Right here and right here of getting everything onto the brakes. Those are heavy braking zones. Not here, not so much here, not here, not here, not here, not here. Here, yes. Here, yes. You should be exploiting those tires, exploiting that grip. So again, we're going to go back to here. Is what we want to see is some data points down in here. And what you're probably going to see is you're going to get this, and then you're going to trend off. You're going to trend off, and it's going to look something like this, which is normal at first. But the real opportunity and the effort is here. And I'm telling you this now so we can tell you what we want it to look like. Because if this is right here, we don't want it to do this. Because we saw the first half of the cornering process. Here's the brakes, right? Here's gas. Here's brakes. Here's that maximum, right? When the long G is doing this part right here of the long G is down here, right? This part of the long G is down here. This part of the Lat G, right, depending on right or left, is over here, right? It's that transition of, I'm going to write these both upside down, for the long G and the Lat G. I'm going to make that bigger on purpose. It's that transition right here, which is going to be your future opportunity. So there's another 1.5 seconds. But for now, let's go for this. Get you on the brakes and get you rolling in faster. Remember, this has nothing to do with speed. So that's it. There's your action item. Again, that was the goal of this video, to do some analysis, get past beginner, get to the action items. The action items are in the brake zone by getting more firm into the brake, or just past initial application. Really get into there and roll extra 1 or 2 or even 3 miles an hour through there, and keep note of where you can go to throttle. Ideally, you can't use the throttle because you're going that fast. If you're using throttle, anyone in the cornering process and an abundance of it, and certainly before the apex, you're overslowing, and there's opportunity for you to be had. That's it. I'm Eric Meyer. Subscribe to this channel if you got something out of it. Like the video if you like. Send me your data if you like. If you want some further analysis, I can do that for you. This was a quick one for social media and to help my buddy Nick, who's a great instructor with NASA Great Lakes, and to help him see that there's opportunity in the brakes. And with respect to Instructor Summit and instructing, once he sees this and has a discovery for himself, he's going to be coaching that, because chances are instructors instruct the way they drive. And Nick's going to have a new aha because of this. I know he is. He's a good driver. He's going to put all these concepts to use and go, wow, he's become a better instructor. That's why I'm here. That's why Instructor Summit is here, is to make instructors better drivers so they make better instructors. That's it. I'm Eric Meyer. Wash your hands. We'll talk to you soon.